Well, welcome back. Senate Republicans releasing their $430 billion plan to fund President Trump's agenda. Senate Budget Committee Chair Lindsey Graham says the resolution will increase annual spending by nearly $86 billion, fully offset with spending cuts as well. The bill provides money for border security and deportations, but it does not extend Trump's tax cuts right here. The Senate is expected to come up with a tax bill later this year. House Speaker Mike Johnson asked the Senate to hold off on advancing that budget until the House completes one massive bill, which will contain all of President Trump's wishes, including the tax cuts. However, the House bill is facing delays over coming up with offsets, spending cuts. Joining me now is South Dakota Senator Mike Rounds. Senator, great to see you this morning. Thank you so much for being here. Were you with your colleagues at Mar-a-Lago last Friday?
We were, and in fact, it was a great meeting. The president was high energy as usual. He clearly is focused, and I'll tell you what, he is excited about what's getting done. He appreciated the fact that we're getting his nominees through in a timely fashion and looking forward to more of them coming on board. That's our part of the job right now that we're focused on. Senator Thune has done a great job of organizing it, coordinating it, and getting the job done. That's our part of the deal. In the meantime, the president has continued moving forward in what he believes is his role right now. He's talking about the tariffs. He's talking also about what he needs to do within the rest of the executive branch of government in terms of saving money. And we're all looking forward to getting not only a budget done for this year, but probably two of them in the Senate, both of which could be combined in the House, as you just indicated. We know that they've got to pass what they call the bird bath in the United States Senate. We're working on that right now, trying to get ahead of the game.
Yeah, Senator, thank you so much for your leadership and all your work on this. I know you all have a lot on your plate. I'm going to get back to the two plans in a second because I want to get your take on what the offsets are. But let me first stay on this confirmation story, because now we have this story in the Financial Times this morning about Kash Patel, President Trump's nominee for FBI director. He's apparently been getting scrutinized because he held stock in a group that owns Shein stock. Shein is the Chinese fast fashion retailer, and it's being accused of using forced labor. How significant is this, the fact that Kash Patel had a financial disclosure that he held shares in a company called Elite Depot, which is a Cayman Islands group that, according to UK business records, owns shares of Shein, the Chinese company? What's the problem?
Look, Kash Patel is going to be confirmed. He has met with us. He's the right guy for the job. He comes with two things going for him. Number one, he has a background that a lot of people don't know about because he can't talk about it because of what he's done for national security. And the second piece is he's an outsider coming in. I know they're going to try to paint him in a bad light, but I can just tell you, on the meetings that we've had with him, I think there's unanimous consent among the Republican side that this guy is the right guy for the job right now. We want to get him in place. We want to get the rest of the cabinet in place and move forward. Give the president the guys in the right spot, the guys and gals in the right spot.
All right. Well, that's good to hear. You said Kash Patel will be confirmed. And why not? Look at this background. Yep. He was the chief of staff at the Department of Defense. He was deputy assistant to President Trump. As the chief of staff at DOD, his responsibilities included implementing the secretary's no-fail mission with 3 million plus employees. He served as deputy director of national intelligence. He also led President Trump's counterterrorism mission as deputy assistant to the president and National Security Council. So obviously his record speaks for itself. What about the agenda and this idea that you can't come up with offsets? How are you going to pay for everything, knowing that 76% of your spending goes to mandatory spending? My question is, do you have to get the axe and start cutting into mandatory spending?
Yeah, the reconciliation process actually expects that to happen. And so what we are talking about is working in the mandatory side of the budget. We can't get at it with the traditional authorizations you find in appropriations processes. You know, we only normally vote on about 1/3 of what we actually spend, but the reconciliation process allows us to go into the entire budget. And what Chairman Graham has done, and I think he's done an excellent job of this, what he has said is okay, we're going to put the targets out there. That's our job in the budget Budget Committee. But then we go back to the committees themselves and say, this is the amount that you can spend, or this is the amount which you have to come up with in terms of cuts. And so all of the folks on our side of the aisle that have ideas, some great ideas about ways in which we can save money, they now go back to the specific committees, make their recommendations, and all of the committees go to work. So we're dividing the workload up among a whole lot of different committees. This is the way the process was supposed to work in the first place. All
right, good. I like it. We're going to be watching that. I know that there were some findings that said that President Trump wants to reduce revenue by $5 trillion to $11.2 trillion over 10 years. He wants to make sure that you do come up with some offsets. But I want to move on because we had a lot of things to cover here with you, Senator. You were part of the debanking hearing last week. Here's the CEO of Anchorage Digital testifying about how the Biden administration went after banks for being associated with the crypto industry, and they tried to debank them. Watch this.
I have at least 2 employees that have debanked because of what they believe is associated with the crypto industry, including one as recently of December of last year. Finally, I have spoken to dozens of crypto leaders that have been debanked personally or had their crypto companies debanked.
By the way, I also spoke with our First Lady, Melania Trump, during the campaign, and she said she was debanked. She told me exclusively that as soon as she left the White House the first time around, the banks decided that they were not going to bank her anymore, Senator. What's going on?
Yeah, what you've got are some out-of-control regulators. Look, the FDIC, the OCC in particular, both of them, along with the CFPB, but those two in particular, have just gone crazy on some of this stuff. And the bottom line is you bring a regulator into a bank and you go to the bank and you say, I want the list of all the people that are involved in a particular industry. And when we get to that stage of the game, we're going to ask you a lot of questions. And in doing so, there's a possibility that we're going to go after your camel rating. And if we do that, it means it's going to cost you a whole lot of money to continue in business. You're going to pay more for your bonds. You're going to pay, you're literally going to have higher costs if you do business with these particular types of business. And by the way, we're going to continue to follow up on this. And this is the way they harass them. They won't put it in writing to them, but they'll do it at the audits. And we have numerous banks have told us about the heavy-handedness of these organizations. We have to take that out of the regulatory oversight. We've got to get them back to doing what they're supposed to do, which is follow the law and the regulations that are written down that a bank can understand. No more of this stuff of picking and choosing the different favorable industries or those that are not favorable. The energy industry has gone through this already. Their folks have, when they go in and try to get money, in a lot of cases, the banks are telling them the same thing, that they've got regulators in asking extra questions.
Yeah, well, and now we know it came from the Biden administration and the Obama administration. Let me tell you, we're going to keep a spotlight on this, Senator. Any bank that decides to debank legitimate companies, debank conservatives, we are shining a spotlight on it. And we're going to call it out for sure. That you can, I can promise you. But let me move on to President Trump.
Go by one more thing, though, here, and this is really important.
Okay.
Shine the light on the regulators that are forcing the banks to do it. The banks don't necessarily want to do it. They're being forced into it if they want to continue in business with that particular regulator. We've got to focus on the regulators.
That's unbelievable. That's disgusting. And by the way, that's exactly what they did to social media companies during COVID. They bullied them to censor American citizens' discussion. They wanted to know about COVID. They wanted to know about the vaccines. They did the same thing to social media. They bullied them until they censored them. So again, we are shining a spotlight on it. But I got to ask you about the president stripping the security clearances of former President Biden, former Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, New York Attorney General Letitia James, New York City District Attorney Alvin Bragg. President Trump also stopped daily intelligence briefings for Biden. Senator, you're on the Intelligence Committee. What do you think of this? I mean, unfortunately, these guys played fast and loose with the law, so I'm not surprised. But what do you think?
If they were actually adding to our national security now in retirement, it would be a different deal. I don't have a problem with him taking those away because he's not planning on using their expertise.
All right, we'll leave it there. Senator, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks so much.